welcome to Turkey's seaside playground, Turquoise Coast. The holiday season is just getting underway as we begin the third archery event in 5 weeks. Welcome to Antalya and stage 3 of the Hyundai Archery World Cup, and it's time to settle the men's and women's team medals here on Recurve Sunday. Looking down a beautiful 70-metre range. The temperature is around about 23, 24 degrees and the humidity has crept up this week. Like I said, coming up on the coast of Turkey in this session, we have the bronze and gold medal matches in the women's and men's recurve team events. I'm Karen Bashir and joining me is US international archer Mackenzie Brown. Conditions a little bit more comfortable today.
Definitely more comfortable to be out here today, and I think we're going to see some really good matches this morning.
Yeah, well, we look down the range here as we prepare for the bronze medal match in the recurve women's team event, shooting over 70 metres. The recurve event is over the longest range in international archery. As always, it's the losing semi-finalists that play off for the bronze medal. And we'll see Spain versus Russia. Spain came through Georgia, but then lost out to Chinese Taipei. Russia beat Germany in the quarterfinals before losing to Mexico. 3 athletes on each team, and they're waiting in the wings. So let's welcome them to the field of play here in Turkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the athletes to the field of play for the Recurve Women's Team Bronze Medal match.
Well, Russia lead us out here.
On target number 2,
26-year-old Elena
Osipova.
Introduced to the crowd here, along with 29-year-old Ina Stepanova, 26-year-old Sayana Pilova.
Joining us now on the field of
More
play.
experience on the Russian team compared to this young Spanish team. Spain will be shooting on target 1 on the left as we look down the range.
Representing Spain, Elia Canales.
Elia Canales is just 17 years old.
Alicia Marin.
Celia Castanos is 21 and Alicia Marin is 22 years old. Spain shot a 1966 in the ranking round to be ranked 4th. Russia shot a 1988 and came through the ranking round as the 2nd seeds. Mackenzie, your thoughts on this match?
I think it'll be pretty tight. Both of these teams were ranked pretty close, I think. Just going to be really important to start off really strong and then also maintain your lead. Whoever starts out with the lead, I think that's super important, in time management, like we've talked about before.
Well, recurve archery is not only shot over a longer range than compound, but it also employs the set system. Each team will shoot in each set for 2 set points. The highest score takes the points. If they're all square after the arrows, they share the points. Russia get us off the mark. It's Pilova shooting a 10.
It's a really solid start from Russia going into these first 3 arrows.
So 3 arrows from Russia. Now we'll have the 3 first arrows from Spain. Quick action from Marin there. Mackenzie, we're watching archery for the first time, or if you're new to the sport, is there anything we should really be looking for in this shot here where we're looking at the archer just about to release?
I don't think anything in particular. I think something that's really unique to recurve archers is the fall of the bow. When you look at the bow, it rotates forward in an archer's hand, and if you look close, you'll see that there's a string attached to the index and thumb finger, sometimes the middle and thumb finger of that bow hand, the hand that's touching the riser. And that is to hold the riser in your hand so you don't drop your bow. But we really want to have a relaxed hand and not grab the bow to cause any difference in where the arrow hits.
Well, a bit of an adjustment from the previous arrow there. 55 out of a potential 60 for Russia. Very composed for 17 years old, Canales.
Venga, solo tu ritmo, Celia. Buena, Elia. 8 izquierdo, un poquitico abajo.
Spain needs a 10 here to be able to take any points away.
Tiene mucho tiempo, solo tu ritmo. Buena.
That's a lovely final arrow to secure a tied score, 55 apiece. Very high quality first 3 arrows from both teams, just dropping into the 8 in the second 3. Mackenzie, just briefly explain how the set system works, as we share the points in the first set.
Yep, so the set system for teams is the first to 5 points wins. So, like you said previously, the higher score will get 2 set points. The shared score will get 1 set point each. So the first to 5 wins. If both teams end up in 4 set points each, they would do what we would call a shoot-off. So each archer would shoot 1 arrow, and it would be score first, and then the closest to center.
The quality was really high here as we look at the Russians, and that's a great first arrow, followed up by another 10 in the first 3. Spain, though, equaled that, a 9 to start, followed by 2 10s. Nothing really to split between these, obviously, in terms of points, but no one's really established too much of an advantage here.
Yeah, I think what we saw is kind of a flip-flop where Russia started off really strong and then had maybe a few mistakes in the second 3 arrows, and then Spain was a little wobbly to start and then came back and shot really strong in the last 3 arrows.
So 6-2 begins with the scores all level. Russia shooting first again.
That one's really close to the line, but I still, I agree with the caller. I think it's probably a 9.
Solo tu ritmo, campeona. Vamos por ello,
we see the 9, the third arrow from Russia marked with an asterisk, which means there will be a measure at the conclusion of this set.
Vamos, Ali. Solo tu ritmo. Good shot.
So nothing between these teams so far. Solid 9 from Pilova. Ooh, just moving out into the 8. Stepanova has been solid up till that point. So finishing with a 54 out of a potential 60, with Spain having a possible maximum here of 58. It's a big opportunity here, Mackenzie.
Yeah, all they need is 3 9s, which is pretty manageable for recurve archer.
Just when the opportunity presents itself, Canales drops into the 8.
Lo que notes, confía en tu ritmo, Buena. 9 arriba, muy buena.
So again, a 10 to take this set, or if she shoots a 9, then they will split the set points again.
Muy bien. Bien, Ali. 9
Well,
arriba.
she gets the 9, and again, there's nothing to separate these two teams. There was a glimmer of an opportunity for Spain in that second set, but the 8 in the 4th arrow took that one away.
Correct. Target 2, we have 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, 8. Correct? Okay, gentlemen, mark, pull the arrows.
So Russia, with that measure, have the opportunity to seal the set points. We're just waiting for confirmation from the target judge. If they get marked up to a 10, they would have stolen the points, but they remain with a 9, and we're still all square. 2 set points apiece in this bronze medal match. For 17 years old, Canales really is a bit of a talent. She's very, very calm.
Yeah, I think it's really good to try to almost fake it till you make it. Even if you are really nervous, if you try to act calm, it kind of helps you get into that mode of being calm. But it's also really helpful to have a little bit more experienced teammates that have been in finals before to help you feel more ready for this final stage.
Well, Russia will start us off again in the 3rd set. Sayana Trempilova to shoot first.
9 на 9. Рядом. Хорошо. Ну давай.
Nine.
9 на 6 рядом. Лена, давай.
Well, 2 9s followed up by a 10. Benchmark of 28 points is set.
Buena, eso es. Muy bien, Elia. Vamos, Celia, solo tu ritmo, campeona. Muy bien, solo tu ritmo. ritmo, ¿eh? Buena, eso es. Muy bien, chica. Acuérdate, Ali, de tu ritmo. Dirigiendo hasta que llega allí la flecha.
So, big opportunity to steal an advantage.
Good shot.
And it's a perfect start to the third set for Spain, 3 10s.
Muy bien, chica. I love you.
Bit of pressure on the Russians now.
9-1. Дина, давай!
So I've noticed a little bit of a pattern with the Russian team that the first 3 arrows are really
Dina,
good,
давай!
28, 29, and then the last 3 arrows are just a little bit wobbly. They're not as solid as the first 3, and I think that's something that they need to work on to be able to push this team to Spain.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as much of it is a technical battle of controlling your process, the mind games really do play a big part in this sport.
Yendo hasta el final, Elia. Good shot, eso es. Casi 10 abajo, muy buena, Elia.
I'm a strong believer in not intentionally playing mind games, but the best way to play the most sportsmanlike mind games, in my opinion, would be to shoot 10s, to shoot really strong shots, and that kind of puts you in a better mood, puts you in a good place to shoot more 10s, but it also puts a little bit of pressure on the other team.
15 ahora. Buenísima, Ali.
Well, there we go. The first breakaway is from Spain, and that last arrow potentially go to a measure, but even so, they've taken the 2 set points in the third set. There's a great start to that set from the Spaniards, and that put a bit of pressure on the Russians. Canales starting things off with an X straight down the middle, and then Stanos and Marin nailing the centre as well. And Mackenzie, when we talk about mind games, it's as much of a battle with your own mind. Your own thoughts can be your worst enemy.
I think that's something that every archer works on to make themselves better, because at the end of the day, you can only work so much on your physical shot. You want to be repetitive, you want to be able to shoot the same shot over and over again, but you have to manage your mind to the best of your abilities, because that's what helps you become better. That's what helps you get over that next hump of being a better archer.
Well, Russia now training shoot first in the 4th set of the bronze medal match.
9 на 10. Дина, давай! Хорошо. 10. Дина, давай выстрел чуть правее выйдите.
Nine.
9 на 12. Хорошо. Постоянно не осторожничай, смелее. Четко, уверенно. Идешь. Чуть-чуть.
Confiar en vuestro tiro, ¿eh?
It's another strong 28 from Russia.
Buena, Elia. 9 derecha. Un poquito abajo. Dale 2, ¿eh?
Abre grande y con decisión.
Vamos, Elia. Solo tu ritmo, campeona.
Wobble
Buenísima.
Buena, Celia.
drops into the H. Held on to that one for quite some time.
So one thing that I think is super important, and I'm sure you've noticed that I've said this a lot, is timing. You know, making sure that your shot timing is good, but also it leaves your teammate enough time to make their shot the
And
way
it's one
they
thing
need
we
to.
haven't really talked about in this match, because they are shooting very quickly.
Absolutely, and they're leaving each other at least half of the time. So Spain has over half of their time left to shoot their final 3 arrows. Russia had a good amount of time, over half as well. So they've been excelling at time management.
So Stepanova's second arrow in all the sets has been well, disappointing by her standards. But just when it matters, she nails it down the middle, and the Russian support is pretty vocal. It's a great last 3 arrows from Russia to put down a marker of 58 points. Spain cannot reach that, so it will be all square after this set.
So we'll go to a shoot-off.
We will indeed, but these arrows are still important for Spain.
Definitely, I think it's good to make sure that you practice for that shoot-off. Are you making sure that your timing's good? Is your rhythm good? Are you aiming off for the wind and basically making your best shots? That's what you want to get out of the way before you go into the shoot-off.
Better to happen now than the next 3 arrows.
15.
It's a solid last arrow there from Alethea Marin, but Russia, when they needed to, found their form, dropping just 2 points in that set. Smiles all around there. And look at these arrows here from Russia in the final set. 2 slightly high 9s.
Everything is left of the X, and that's what I would be focused on, is making sure that maybe I'm aiming a little bit like 3 o'clock, 10 ring is maybe where I'd be aiming, just so that we're even closer, because in a shoot-off situation, you're shooting 3 arrows. If both teams have their score tied, it goes to closest to the center. So you want to be as close to that X ring as you possibly can.
Yeah. And so just as you say, a little low, we look back at the 4 10s in that set, and well, we're talking about a few centimetres here, just down to the left. Mackenzie's talking about just adjusting up to try and get even closer to the spider, but it was a solid end there, and that delighted the Russian teammates in the crowd. And as we see, the targets being replaced, we want nice, fresh, clean targets in case we do have to measure in the shoot-off, which is in fact like a mini set, 3 arrows instead of 6.
Yep, a mini set in that each archer only shoots 1 arrow. But one thing that's interesting is that they go back and forth. So I believe that Russia will shoot first, and it will go 1 archer from Russia, then 1 archer from Spain, 1 archer from Russia, and so on, before you get to 3 arrows.
Yeah, so alternating as we go through rather than shooting 3 in a row. So 4 apiece after the 4 regulation sets. We're into a shoot-off for the bronze medal here in Antalya. And Russia will shoot first on target 2. Pressure on Slayana Trimpilova. Up to the left. Opportunity now. Canales, can the 17-year-old hold her nerve?
Solo tu ritmo y dirige hasta el final, Good shot.
a good way to start.
There's your answer, yeah.
Oh.
Stepanova.
Venga, tenéis mucho tiempo, chica. Vamos, ella, solo tu ritmo, campeona. Dirige hasta el final,
Esa es buenísima.
Buena, Celia. Mucho abajo.
They're keeping it tight.
Just like that, dropping them down into the 8. Spain still with the score advantage. Here's an opportunity for Sipova to put the pressure on. It's a lovely shot. And now the pressure is all on Spain. The Russians
So
are
like
on the edge of their seat.
Like the screen says, it's a 10 to win. If she shoots a 9, Russia will win because their 10 is closer.
Quick release from Antalya Marin, and it was a 9, and scores level in the shoot-off. And as Mackenzie said, it goes to the nearest arrow, and that's why there are high fives in the Russian box. It was a really tight one. It looked like Spain had just nicked it at the end, but a solid 4th set from the Russians forced this tiebreaker, and Russia win the shoot-off to take the bronze medal here in Antalya. Just waiting for final confirmation from the target judge, but I think both teams know the outcome of what is coming from 70 meters down the range. Even there at the end, the Russian coach giving a little bit of technical advice, I think, to Strimpilova. Always seeking perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was nothing between these two. Strimpilova hitting a 10 there. Marin going through into the 10 ring as well. A solid anchor, but the 17-year-old Canales was on great form starting things off for Spain, as was her teammate. But the Russians came good in the 4th set, a solid 30 at the end. Delighted their teammates, forced the shoot off, the tiebreaker, and that 10 was the one that made the big difference. High fives all round. The Russian team and the Russian coach delighted with their medal here in Turkey. Hazy here today in beautiful Antalya. Coming up now, it's time for gold in the women's recurve team event. Gives you a little sneak into how far the target is away. Believe me, it looks a lot closer in real life. Well, here's the route to the final. Chinese Taipei always strong, coming through Italy and Spain. And they'll face Mexico, who beat Belarus and then took out Russia in the semi-finals. They're almost ready to come out onto the field of play, so let's go down to the range.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the athletes to the field of play for the Recurve Women's Team Gold Medal match.
A lot of support for the Mexican team here. There's a big contingent in the crowd, in fact.
On target number 2, representing Mexico, Mariana Avitia.
So Avitia Shot 6.49, Ida Roman a 6.53, and Alejandra Valencia a 6.57 to give them a 19.59 in the ranking round.
Joining us now on the field of play.
They're up against the team that came out through the ranking round, ranked first, shooting 2001.
On target number 1, representing Chinese Taipei, Lei Chen-Ying.
29-year-old Lei Chen-Ying. She shot a 6.70. Peng Chia-Mao shot a 6.60. Tanya Ting, the 25-year-old, shot a 6.71. In fact, she came through the women's recurve ranking round as the top seed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this for a gold medal indeed.
Beautiful close-up view of the Archer's equipment, all important.
Chinese Taipei will shoot first on target 1.
Line judge just confirming the order, and it will be Chinese Taipei who will shoot first, going for gold here at the third stage of the Hyundai Archery World Cup. Solid start. Mackenzie has said the TV makes the target look a lot closer than it does when you're standing on that shooting line. You guys, though, so solid, consistently shooting that yellow ring.
We shoot it a lot. I think that's something that's helpful, is that to get to this stage, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of dedication, and we're so used to shooting arrows, shooting them in the 10, shooting them in the gold, that it's just another day at the archery range.
Yeah, and you could see how disappointed they are. I mean, for a mere mortal like myself, shooting a 7 at that distance, I think I would hang up my bows and say, that's it, that's the best shot I'm ever going to get. But you'd see the athletes very upset with the 7.
8.
8.8 a la izquierda. Venga. Mariana. Una forma, Mariana.
8.
8.3 a las 4. Venga, tiro fuerte. Fuerte y con ritmo.
Nine.
9.4 a las 10. Venga.
Oh, 2 8s and a 9, enough to take the mini lead here halfway through the first set. Chinese Taipei found the middle. They certainly have 3 10s to finish the set for them.
Mexico needs to match to be able to take the sets. So with 2 10s, they can still split the set points with Chinese Taipei.
Pressure on then. She's dropped that into the 9 there. behind. It was 3 9s from Mexico, but 3 sighters for Chinese Taipei at the beginning, 9-8-7. But then Chinese Taipei found the middle in their second arrows. Here we look back at those arrows. That was a brilliant fourth one, really set the confidence nice and high, and all 3, Lei, Peng and Tan, shooting 10s to close out the set. And she doesn't look as happy as perhaps she might, but they're really, really focused, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that's really good about those 3 10s is it's coming back as soon as you can, making quick adjustments so that you are there in the middle. I think the last archer was just happy that she found her way into the 10 because her first arrow was really not in the middle. So maybe that's why there wasn't as big of a celebration as others, but quick adjustments are really important in team rounds.
Yeah, and we saw the 3 arrows at the beginning. I mean, they would have used those as sighters to set themselves for the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into the second set. Mexico trailing will shoot first. That's a good start. Valencia getting them off the mark.
This is a good reason not to underestimate this Mexican team. One thing that's a really cool fact is that both Mariana Vitia and Aida Roman have Olympic medals. They individually have silver and bronze, respectively, and Aida's silver, Mariana is bronze from the 2012 Olympic Games.
Yeah, they're certainly a more experienced team. But there's something about Chinese Taipei when they get on a roll that makes them look invincible. A 10 to start things off by Tanya Ting. Now drifting out to the 8 for Lee.
Big opportunity here for Mexico to close this out.
Yep, they can put it out of reach. 28 points in these final 3 arrows will do that. So they have wiggle room. A little grimace there. Gave the story away. Well, a 10 here for Roman would put this one out of reach. A 9 would mean the Chinese Taipei still need a maximum to share the set points. For the first time, the clock counts within the last 10 seconds, and because of that time pressure, Roman was only able to score an 8, so now a maximum from Chinese Taipei, and they will go 4 set points up. Well, already that one's run away.
2 10s to split the set points here.
And 2 10s it is The points are shared, but Chinese Taipei maintain their 2-set point lead here in Antalya. And the sunshade hats come out for the athletes from Chinese Taipei. Interesting that Lei not wearing any kind of head protection here. He's pretty brutal right out in the sun. The Mexicans have something to think about, but looks pretty happy in the Chinese Taipei camp. And we look back on the set here, and the arrows from both the teams. Chinese Taipei in yellow, Mexico in red.
Yeah, really good grouping. We had a couple of issues. One high 8 for Mexico, but that was a time crunch. One right 8 that seemed to be perfect conditions, but lots of 10s for both teams. Really good shooting.
Yeah, good line for the athletes from Chinese Taipei. And the Mexicans shooting there. That's a beautiful shot following the arrow down into the 10. That's another one. And Aida Rahman also getting her 10. Lei here, the one without the head cover, she got a 10. Along with Peng. And you can see that grouping for Chinese Taipei all pretty much on a horizontal. Delighted Chinese Taipei. They're very, very serious. They start this set now. Mexico trailing, but they shoot a 10 to get us off the mark.
Mexico is definitely looking to take this set here to be able to stay in this match.
Fuerte, ritmo.
8.
Same spot as our other arrow.
Yeah, going high again. As Tanya Ting prepares to release her arrow, you can see the Mexican squad all having a little chat with each other about that last arrow.
Communication is super important, I think, because for Aida to shoot 2 high arrows, I think maybe her sight might be off. And so I think that would be really important for her to tell her teammates, hey, I think my sight's off. Don't worry about where my arrows are going. Just use your best judgment based on what you can see from the wind. But I'm making the changes to get it back in the middle.
Yeah, it's so important to be honest about whether it's your fault or whether it was a gust of wind. Mexico need a big score here to put some kind of pressure on Chinese Taipei, and it's a 10 to get us off the mark in the second half of this set. Crucial for Mexico to get the points here.
Great grouping from Mariana, just like 2 arrows right next to one another.
Control el izquierdo, fuerte la soltada. Firme. ¿Sabes cómo?
Again, inside 10 seconds, so time pressure again. But she gets a 9 this time. But there's a massive opportunity here, a potential 58 on the cards for Chinese Taipei. And a great start. They can still afford to drop 2 points in these next 2 arrows and take the set points. That's a lovely shot there. So an 8 is all that's required to take the match for Chinese Taipei. But she gets a 9. It was a brilliant second half to the first set from Chinese Taipei. They scored 3 tens and they haven't looked back since. A superb performance from the athletes from Chinese Taipei, Tanya Ting, Lei Chengying and Peng Chia Mao. Brilliant stuff. They are the gold medalists here in Antalya.
And get the job done. Walking away from Antalya, but with the gold medal in the Recurve women's team competition.
Well, there we go. Handshakes all round. Chinese Taipei confirmed as the gold medalist here in Antalya. Mexico, well, they opened the door at the beginning and they just couldn't fight their way back in.
I think their strength from Mexico was, from Chinese Taipei was that they had a few errant arrows in the beginning, but they made really quick adjustments for where their arrows were going, and then were able to get back into the middle and stay in the middle, and that's super important in these team matches to be able to create a lead and keep pushing it and making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, indeed, they performed superbly, stealing the early advantage and then not looking back as they just prepare to leave the field of play. So, Chinese Taipei taking the gold here in Antalya, and it was the start, the second half of the start, that really saw the beginning of the story here. They scored 3 tens in that first set. Mexico staged a big fight back, but it just wasn't quite enough. Chinese Taipei there. So look at these beautiful slow motion replays of the action from the athletes. They didn't look too happy, but let me tell you, they were very delighted and very, very determined. That's a lovely shot there of the Mexicans, who scored a number of tens themselves. But they were solid, all 3 of them. And a happy bunch indeed. Chinese Taipei finally showing some emotion at the end as they celebrate the gold medal they've taken here in Antalya. So the final rankings here in Antalya: Chinese Taipei with the gold medal, Mexico with silver, Russia beating Spain for the bronze medal. Well, it's a much more comfortable day today. The women's matches are now over. Coming up very, very shortly, it's time for the bronze and gold medal matches in the men's team events here on Compound. Sorry, it's Recurve Sunday. The caption said Compound there. It is a much more comfortable day. We're just waiting for the athletes to come out for the medal ceremony in the women's event. And there was a nice breeze there, Mackenzie.
Yeah, not a lot of breeze, but makes it comfortable out here in the hot sun.
Well, the athletes look like they're ready to come out. Let's welcome them back onto the range.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Recurve women team. Medals will be presented by World Archery Board member Greg Easton. Gifts will be presented by Antalya Metropolitan Municipality Deputy Mayor Bushra Özdemir. Bronze medal representing the Russian Federation.
Well, here we go. The Russian team beat Spain to take the bronze medal. It required a shoot-off,
Osipova.
but Sayana Trimpilova,
Ina Stepanova.
Stepanova and Elena Osipova collect their bronze medals here in Turkey.
Sayana Tsirempilova. Silver medal. Representing Mexico.
Well, it was a brave fight from the Mexicans, but they left the door open early in the match for gold. And they just couldn't quite fight their way back in.
Avitia.
Mariana Avitia,
Aida Roman.
Aida Roman, individual silver medalist at the Olympics in
Alejandra
London.
Valencia.
And Alejandra Valencia stand on the second spot of the podium here, collecting their silver medals.
Gold medal. Representing Chinese Taipei.
Well, it took 3 arrows for them to get their sights in the gold medal match. And from then on, they didn't look back. Chinese Taipei were the form team today. Li Chenying, Peng Chia Mao, and
Tanya
of
Ting.
course Tan Ya-ting, who was part of the Chinese Taipei that took the bronze medal in the team event at Rio 2016 Olympics, collecting a gold medal here in Antalya.
Well done.
Handshakes all around there from Greg Easton, the sponsor of World Archery.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the anthem
Now it's
of
time
Chinese
for the
Taipei.
national anthem of Chinese Taipei.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to our athletes.
Well, there we have it, confirmation of our medalists here. Chinese Taipei with gold. They were the best team on the day, beating Mexico in the final. And Russia required a shoot-off, but they won it in the bronze medal playoff against Spain, and they took the bronze medal here in Turkey. That's the women's recurve team done and dusted. Just watching the athletes parade off as the stands behind are quite full now. Everyone coming out to enjoy this beautiful weather here on the coast in Turkey, and the conditions are absolutely lovely now.
As you all know,
Well, there are so many intricate parts to an archer's equipment. We spoke to Britain's 4-time Olympian Naomi Fulcard to find out what a clicker is.
As a recurve archer, we're trying to get the smaller group as possible, so for that we need the arrow to be travelling at the same speed, so we need the same power and we need the same draw length. The clicker is a thin piece of metal that's about 10 centimetres long. It's screwed into the top, and then there's normally a plastic bit at the bottom where it touches the arrow. I load the arrow underneath the clicker so that when I pull the bow back, it clicks in the same place every time. The clicker should not control you, rather you should use it as an indication that you're at the right draw length and you're ready to go. When I'm coming into full draw, my front arm is set up strong with the power going towards the target with the sight on the gold, and I'll expand through the back. When the clicker goes, I will be ready to go on the sea of the clip. You should know that the clicker's in the right place when you're able to set the front up strong and be able to make a small amount of expansion before it drops. You need to be able to have a fairly consistent draw length before you start considering using a clicker. The clicker won't give you control, rather you need to have the control before you start using the clicker as an indicator. For the best archers, most of the draw is a really big movement, but the last 2 millimeters, the expansion, that is where the clicker comes to play, and that is what makes the difference at the target.
Well, really interesting stuff. In a game where millimetres matter, all the equipment is so important to the archers, Mackenzie.
Yeah, clicker is really key when it comes to shooting Olympic recurve at a high level. I think that, like Naomi said, it's really important to get comfortable with your shot and get comfortable with your draw length before you start to introduce a clicker.
Yeah, well, these features are really interesting, and if you enjoy watching them during our live coverage, you can also pick up lots more information by following World Archery on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and of course that one you told me that the kids
Instagram.
are quite... Instagram, that's the one. Quite popular with the youngsters. That's the women's events done. Now it's time for the Recurve men's team bronze medal match. Giving you a good view of what the archers are looking at. And here is how the teams got to this bronze medal playoff. Ukraine beat Russia in the quarterfinals but lost out to China. And the USA, well, they beat Spain in the quarterfinals, but then in a tight one lost out to Italy. So the bronze medal match will be between Ukraine and the USA, and the athletes are just about ready to come out onto the range here in Antalya.
And now, please welcome the athletes to the field of play for the Recurve men's team bronze medal match.
Well, a regular feature on the podium at World Archery events
On target
are the athletes
2,
from the USA.
representing the United States of America, Brady Ellison,
Brady Ellison
Thomas Stanwood,
leading the line with the 40-year-old Thomas
Jack
Stanwood
Williams,
and the 19-year-old Jack Williams.
and their opponents. Joining us now on the field of play.
Well, it's a beautiful day here, and one that welcomes bright colours, and that's what we've got with the team from Ukraine.
On target number 1, representing Ukraine, Yuri Avelko,
Yuri Pavelko,
Alexei Unbin,
Alexei Hunbin, and Victor Ruban form their lineup.
The line judge for this matchup is Marin Hassa.
Well, Mackenzie, we love having you in the commentary box, but Sometimes you get so excited about watching your teammates, you don't say very much.
I do. I'm passionate, and I want to make sure that I don't sound too biased, but I am pretty biased on USA
You're
winning.
allowed to be. You're allowed to be. But it's an interesting team, and I was watching earlier on that Jack Williams was just having a little bit of remedial physiotherapy, having a massage in the on the practice range.
Yeah, it's important if you have some things that you think are going to impede your shooting to get those worked out before you go out on a finals day.
Well, they're almost ready here. We'll wait for the range to be clear, and it is. The USA will begin this bronze medal match.
Check the balance. Keep swimming. Yep. Low. Reset.
Eight.
Williams just dropping down into the 8 after 2 10s from Ellison and Stanwood. So we switch over to Ukraine.
Victor Ruban is the 2008 individual gold medalist from the Olympics, and definitely brings quite a bit of experience to this team.
Velko is 30 years old. Only shot a 650 in the ranking round. That's a good start from him too.
Something that's interesting about his equipment is that most Olympic recurve shooters shoot the V-bar system. So what you see is two stabilizers out the back that look like a V, whereas he only has one straight bar out the front. We call it a long rod, but it's very interesting for this level of archery to have only one stabilizer.
Just a little bit of movement in that arm there from Stanwood. He started with an 8.
Yep.
Williams finds the centre. So, Mackenzie, I know it sounds ridiculous, but what does a stabilizer do?
Okay, so a stabilizer has quite a few different factors to it, so it can help, obviously, by its name, stabilize the bow and stabilize the reaction of the bow. But it also helps the bow fall forward, which is its natural rotation out of our hand. Is the riser is typically top heavy, so the bow rotates forward, and we want to help that movement go forward. So we add stabilizers and change the weight on them, and then the other component is to dampen weight, or to dampen vibration in the hand. There's a lot of vibration that happens when you let go of the string, and you want to kind of alleviate that a little bit.
Well, whatever the setup for the Ukrainian team, it's worked here. They steal the set points in the first step, winning by a single point there. And you've got to say, it was just that one arrow again, one arrow making a big difference, and that was the 8 from Jack Williams. Mackenzie, we take a look at all the arrows here.
Everything's a little low to me. If you draw a line straight across through the X in the middle, you're going to have probably about 80% of the arrows low of center. So that just may be a little bit of difference between the practice range and here. maybe everybody's low. So I'd be adjusting a little bit on the site, but I think Jack has made his adjustments, and I think everybody's going to be back in the middle for this second end.
Yeah, an interesting point you make about the difference between the practice field and the competition field, because there's no real shelter on the practice field, but Ukraine got an opportunity for the last arrow here. They needed a 10, and they landed a 10, and that's all that it took to win the 2 set points. So USA trailing will shoot first on target 2, and we're just about ready to get underway for the second set of the bronze medal match here in the men's team event on Recurve Sunday.
Yep.
So in team rounds, we talk a lot about rotation and why the rotation of the athletes matters, like which order each athlete shoots in. And I think it's really smart for Brady to lead off the team because, again, like I've said, it's really important to start with a really good arrow. It helps you be confident for your next arrow. It helps your team be confident that they can shoot a good arrow. And I think it just gives everybody a good boost of confidence for the whole end.
Yeah, you're right. Brady has some serious experience. A team silver medalist at the Olympic Games in London 2012, and then got an individual bronze at the next Olympics in Rio, along with his second team silver. So a solid start from the USA was exactly what they needed to put the pressure on Ukraine.
Десять внизу, щелчок вниз.
Just as we get the scorecard back up there, we see that the second arrow from the USA has an asterisk next to it, which means it will go to a measure.
Поправочку влево сделай, у тебя слева больше.
But also in this situation, if they shoot another 29, they shut out Russia because of that 8.
Yep.
And again, it's Ellison leading out, and setting the pace.
Relax finger. Keep swimming. Yeah. Nothing special. Just a good, strong shot. Keep driving, boy. Strong focus. Yep.
Well, that has potentially put it out of reach. Of course, if that 9 gets marked up, it's well, 2 points out of reach for Ukraine. So whatever happens with that measure, USA have taken the second set. These arrows, of course, important rehearsal, if you like, for the next set here.
It's interesting to see the differences in strategy for the set system that Recurve shoots versus the accumulative score of compound. With Recurve, if you lose a set, it's pretty inconsequential unless it's, you know, the final set, because you can always come back and win the next one. You can, you know, turn a deficit into a huge lead. So sets really, really help out if you have one bad shot. And by bad shot, I mean like a 9 or an 8. It happens, but you know, it definitely makes it gives the ability for a comeback.
Yeah, and you're right. The USA dropped an 8. Jack Williams putting an 8 in, perhaps because of the difference from the practice range to here in the first set. But he recovered, and here is the target judge. got the magnifying glass out. Yeah, so that 1-8 from Jack Williams in the first set meant they lost the points. There he is. He found the middle in the second set, and in fact his teammates Ellison and Stanwood there also shooting tens to take the point in that second set, and we've now had confirmation that the second arrow from the USA in the second set was marked as a 9, but they still had enough in the bag to take the points. USA draw level with Ukraine here in this bronze medal match. And they will shoot first in the third set, perhaps with a little bit of momentum behind them. Let's hand it over to Brady Ellison to get us underway. Nice. Stanley a blinker. Is that to avoid some distraction, or is that because the sun's not shining that brightly anymore?
I think it's just a comfort thing. If there is more sun, then it's there, and then if there's not, it doesn't really bother him that it's there. I think it's just a comfort thing. He already knows what it's like to shoot with that shade on, so I think he would just leave it on. It can also be a little bit like horse blinders, just to keep you focused on what you're supposed to be focused on.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It's a perfect 30 from the USA, and Ukraine starting off with a 10. Both teams seemingly have found the centre of the target here. Compound archery, they shoot over 50 metres. Here in the Olympic discipline of recurve, they shoot over 70 metres. We talked about the difference between the practice range and here. The main thing is the stands on this competition field provide a little bit of shelter from the very, very gentle breeze in the first, 15, 20 metres.
Yeah, so what I think that attributes to is that archers try to feel the wind as well. It's not just looking out as what the flags do, but you're also feeling where the wind is pushing you.
Nice.
And so when you've got these kind of barricades of the wind, you can't see, I mean, you can't feel that wind and just react.
Yeah, nice.
Well, the flags down the range provide some kind of indication as the USA drop their very first point in the third set here.
Keep the center. Focus. There we go. Yeah.
That's a great score, and they've put this one out of reach. They trailed by 2 after the first set, and they've all found the centre of the target and taken the next 4 set points. So, Mackenzie, what's going through the minds of these Ukrainian athletes here when they know this one's out of reach and they're going to be behind?
Again, I think it's just practice arrows, trying to find the center and figure out why some of those arrows went out of the center. I think it's just important to know, okay, we're figuring out the wind, or maybe I just had a bad shot. Just some practice arrows here.
Well, just as always, it's that one stray 8 from Ukraine that opened the door for the USA. They look very strong now and dropped just a single point in that set. As we have a look at all of their arrows. And they're zoomed in on the centre here, just those 3 or 4 9s dotted around the yellow circle. And they only dropped a single point. Stanwood dropping a 9 on the 5th arrow. Otherwise, it was 10s all round. That one from Stanwood was a beauty. Jack Williams, who dropped the 8 in the first set, has found his form and his stride. And Brady Ellison there as the anchor in the team, scoring 2 10s as well. And a bit of a nod of their head, a confident look on the face of Jack Williams. Well, recovery all important for the USA after the first set, but who's to say that the Ukrainian team won't do the same thing? They're trailing, so they'll shoot first in the 4th set. Well, that is not the greatest of starts here. Mackenzie, this is an interesting one as well, because the USA just need to match Ukraine here.
Yep, we're in the situation that 5 set points win the match. So USA, I'm guessing, just because I know my teammates, they're going to go for a perfect score. But I think that anything is good enough just to match.
Well, a 7 and an 8 were not what Ukraine were looking for, and it's another 8 here. And that's the pressure of having to fight back has got to them.
There are a few more gusts out there, but I don't think that there's enough wind to have pushed Ukraine that far over.
Yeah, they all drifted off to the left as well.
Yeah.
They said they were going to go for the perfect score. That is a perfect start, if they are.
Check the balance. Good set. Check. Keep swimming. Keep swimming. Yeah. Okay. Nothing special. Good eye focus. Keep driving ball. Keep driving.
A 9's enough.
So just listening in to what the teammates were saying to Jack and Coach Lee as well is nothing special. And I think that's super important when it comes to finals matches, is that you've done enough to get to this finals match. You don't need to do anything extra special to be able to win the finals match. I think that a lot of teams will come in and try to do something more, or try to make more 10s happen, and that's when you don't shoot 10s. You put too much pressure on yourself and you try too hard. But really, it just needs to be good enough.
Well, Ukraine finding the centre of the target again, having gone left with all 3 of the first arrows, and it's a yellow card there for Ukraine.
Oh, another yellow card.
Time against him here, inside 10 seconds.
8.
And that's the result. And here is why they got penalised.
Yeah, his teammate's foot was still over the line there. So I think that that judge saw that correctly, that you have to be completely clear of that field of play there, that 1 meter line. Otherwise you will get penalized.
Well, dropping 10 points, as Ukraine have done, means that the USA could be in touching distance after this arrow of the target score of 50.
Focus. There we go. Yep.
And, well, 1 required to win the match. fancy Jack Williams is going to score a little more than one.
Nothing special. Keep driving. Drive focus.
He gets a 9. There was a little bit of, well, the wheels falling off the bus for Ukraine in the first 3 arrows, all drifting off to the left. The USA had the momentum behind them, but were gifted an early lead in that final set, and they win the bronze medal very convincingly after trailing 2 set points to love after the first set. A great performance from Team USA.
My heart rate got a little bit high there.
After the first set, though, the USA almost looked in no doubt of taking this. They were much more confident and landing their shots, and had plenty of time as we get confirmation that the USA have taken the bronze medal here in the men's recurve team event in Antalya. But they looked really confident and really solid, and it looked like nothing was going to waver them after that first set.
This is also just a reminder that this is really good practice for our team going into World Championships that's coming up soon. World Championships is super important for Olympic qualifications, and it's really important that they build up that confidence as a team.
Well, the USA team looking on there, actually sitting with one of the Russians. Here's the Ukrainian starting well with 2 10s, and the USA, well, they trailed after the first set, as I said, but then they just put the pedal to the metal and pulled away. And Jack Williams, after dropping an 8 in the first set, constantly found the center of the target. Stanwood was great, and as always, Brady Ellison was superb as well. And high fives all round to celebrate victory in the bronze medal match here in Turkey. Well, everyone's enjoying the action here, even the canines. So we're framed here on the coast by those beautiful mountains. The targets are being changed. We're ready for the gold medal match here in the men's team event on Recurve Sunday at the 3rd stage of the Hyundai Archery World Cup. Well, here's the tail of the tape and how the teams got to this session. Italy down the bottom took out France, and then the USA, the People's Republic of China, beat Chinese Taipei in a tight one in the quarterfinals before a confident 5-3 victory over Ukraine. So it's time for the gold medal match here in the men's team event. The teams are waiting in the wings, so let's go down to the range.
And now, please welcome the athletes to the field of play for the Recurve Men's Team Gold Medal Match. On target number 2, representing Italy, Marco Gagliazzo.
Here they are. It's a strong Italian team.
David
Pasqualucci there. Final one to be announced, along with Mario Gagliazzo and Mauro Nespoli. It's a much younger team from China here as they just lay down their bows.
On target number 1, representing the People's Republic of China, Ding
Yinglang, Feng Hao and Wei Xiaoshuan. 2 18-year-olds and a 23-year-old. They shot a 1993 in the ranking round and came through as the 13th seeds, but battled their way through the field. Italy, well, they shot the 20.04 in the ranking round to be ranked 10th. So it just goes to show You don't have to be a high seed after the ranking round to get your way through to the gold medal match. Both these teams have faced shoot-offs on their route here. I wonder if we're going to get another one in this gold medal match. It's time to find out as we watch Italy take on China for the men's team gold here on Recurve Sunday.
Nine.
Nuova sinistra la vedi.
Nine.
9-24.
2 9s either side of the yellow ring. And they zone in on the 10, so a 28 out of a 30. Not a bad start for Italy in a match that sees experience take on youth.
9. Nine.
2 9s for the Chinese team, mirroring the Italian start.
Nine.
But it's a trio of 9s. Very serious looking Chinese delegate in the crowd there looking on.
Nine.
9 ancora un pelino basso. Alle 6.
Nine.
9 a destra piena.
Galeazzo looking very cheery most of the time, but when he's on the range, very straight-faced.
Nine.
Nuova sinistra.
It's just a 9 party right now.
Yeah, those 3 9s from the Italians mean there is an opportunity here for China. They can score a maximum of 57. And lots of support in the crowd for the Chinese team. Very vocal. How's your Mandarin?
Pretty poor, to be honest.
I think that was words of encouragement. Oh, just dropping into the 8 when there was a big opportunity there for China. And 8 at the end means they're tied on points with Italy in the first set, and they'll share the set points. I thought China had found the centre then. After you called it a party of 9s from Italy, the 3 9s at the end left an opportunity, and the opportunities do present themselves, but archery's all about taking those opportunities, and it looked like China were going to do that. Here's the first 10, the 4th arrow, followed by the next one straight in the 10, confidence riding high, and then this.
It's unfortunate. He is grouping a little bit low, though, so maybe a little bit of adjustment there.
But good support there from one of the coaches on the Chinese team, really providing some support.
It's a very young team from China against a very established team from Italy. You've got two team members who are on the team who won gold in the 2012 Olympic Games here, and I think that they have quite a bit of experience on this Chinese team, but I don't think we should discount anybody in set play for sure.
Yeah, interesting point. Having shot together for so long, they'll know each other so well, know when to provide encouragement and when not to. And they're teamed up with this youngster, David Pasqualucci, to get us underway in the second set of the gold medal match.
Didn't seem super happy with that, a little Bo Kwon Do, as I like to say, but really close arrow there. I think it might be a measure. Maybe they're going to make it a 10 party this time.
Curse of the commentator.
Sorry, Italy.
Well, just as the Chinese are starting to get lots of vocal support, Mara Nespoli looked there to encourage his teammates, to cheer them on a bit. And an 8 for the start for China is not what they're looking for. Now require 2 10s to stay in touch halfway through the set. Well, only trailing by the single point, but that's subject to that first arrow, which, as Mackenzie said, will go to a measure. So potentially Italy leading by 2 at this stage.
Some more Bo Kwon Do, but into the 10 ring.
In case people haven't heard you use that term before, what do you mean?
I make a joke that when you swing your bow to help the arrow into the middle, I call that Bo Kwon Do. It's not a real thing, but it is when you try to influence the arrow into the center of the target.
Nespoli not looking happy with that, and that's why pulling it into the 8. So Italy could have put that out of reach there. China, well, if they get a perfect score, they've taken the points. Now remember, Italy are notionally... Italy are notionally on 55 points. They could be marked up to 56. So 2 more 10s will definitely put this out of reach. There's one of them, but a 9 might be enough.
Great.
Gets the 9. So China are on 56, but now the measure is really important on that first arrow.
You have X10. So 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 8 for target 2.
Well, the target judge has made his decision, and Italy have been marked a 9 for the first arrow. So China do indeed take the set points in the second set and lead by 3-1 in this gold medal match. And they're looking pretty pumped up, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I think they're pretty excited going into this this next end. If they win it outright, they win the entire match. I think Italy's going to give them a hard time to be able to do that, but it's definitely a close, tight match right now.
So Italy trailing. Lead out again with David Pasqualucci. Crucial to start well here.
He really likes to shoot liners. Liners is a term that we use that's, you know, really close to the line, potentially in, potentially out.
If you hit the line in archery, you are marked up for the higher score.
I do know that in Mandarin they said "Jaio," which I think means "let's go, come on," like an encouragement.
Not just an expert, a linguist too. And you bring in your own Mackenzie-isms as well. You know, the whole package. Dropping in to the 8, which means that a 10 will be required from China to draw level here. Just drifting off to the right-hand side here. Do you think the wind's picked up a little bit?
I think it could have, and I think in the adverse happened. Usually when the wind picks up, you drift in the direction that the wind is pushing you, but I think what happened with Italy is they aimed off too far, and so they are into the wind side. I think for David in the first arrow, he may have not really liked the shot that he made, which makes arrows drift further. But
it's left the door open for China. Very unorthodox process here. And it's an 8. So a 10 required to win the match here. Can China capitalize here? Oh, a lovely shot from Wei Xiaoshuan there. He needed a 10 to take it, and he absolutely nailed it down the middle to the delight of the Chinese officials in the crowd. They're very happy because they have taken the gold medal here in Antalya in the Recurve men's team event. Well, they really are very delighted. Feng Hao, just 18 years old, along with the anchorman, as confirmation comes from the target judge of the Chinese win. And Feng is 18. Wei Xiaohuan, who also is 18 years old, shot the 10 to win it, as we get confirmation that those two, and Ding Yi Liang, who's, well, the elder statesman at 23 years old, they have taken the world by storm here in Turkey. And they are, well, they're milking this one for all it's worth, and who can blame them? Getting photos in the crowd. I'm sure those will be all over the Chinese news a little bit later on today. And they came in to do a professional job. It wasn't the highest scoring match, that's for sure, but in the end, the Chinese team, well, I think they won that as much through a bit of grit and confidence and a bit of bravado, you have to say.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit younger group, and I think that they hyped themselves up and cheered themselves on. Really good shooting from them, and capitalizing when Italy wasn't as strong as they are known to be.
Yeah, and good support from the crowd as well. And it's a real contrast when you look at these replays of the absolute concentration and no emotion at all as they're taking the shot, and then all the emotion flowing out in between. Feng Hao performed absolutely superbly, and he was probably the most vocal of the three, and you could see the look of determination. He's sort of forcing that one in with his eyes, and the support and the delight as they take the win with a 10 in the end. There's absolutely superb stuff from all three. Feng Hao, Ding Liang, and Wei Xiaohuan are the champions of Antalya in the men's recurve team, and a well-deserved high five from the coach there for all three athletes. You just see that wind starting to blow a little bit, and like I say, it wasn't the highest scoring match in the what we've seen, and here we look at the last set.
I think Italy's grouping is actually better. I think China has a few that are a little bit more stray, but then again, it doesn't really matter if your group is tied. It matters if you have the score.
Yeah, it's all about getting more than your opponents, and in this case you have to do it repeatedly to get the set points you require, and China were just better than Italy in the end, and it was really interesting to see youth beating experience here in Turkey. I think they're ready to come out and get their medals. Let's go back down onto the range here in Antalya.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Recurve men team. Medals will be presented by World Archery First Vice President, Mario Scarzella. Gifts will be presented by Rixos Downtown Antalya Hotel General Manager, Onur Özdiker. Bronze medal, representing the United States of America,
Well, after trailing in the bronze medal match, USA
Brady Ellison,
super strong on their way to winning that playoff. Collect the bronze medals. Brady Ellison,
Congratulations to you.
Jack
Tom
Williams,
Stanwood, and Jack Williams. All three played their part in the bronze medal win.
silver medal. Representing Italy,
bags of experience with Mara Nespoli and Marco Galeazzo. Wasn't quite enough against very, very confident Chinese teams. Italy will have to be happy with the silver medal here. Mara Nespoli, Marco Galeazzo and David Scalucci are on the second step of the podium here in Turkey.
gold medal. Representing China.
Well, they were super strong. Concentration when required, mixed in with outbursts of emotion. Feng Hao in the middle, possibly the best of the three. Wei Xiao Chuan, one of the two 18-year-olds, along with Ding Yi Liang on the left. Collecting their gold medals. I fancy this might not be the last time we see them on the top step of the men's recurve event.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
Now it's time to stand for the national anthem of China.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to our athletes.
There we go. China, the young team here, taking their opportunity to get their photos taken. They've taken gold in the men's team recurve. Italy with silver and the USA with the bronze medal. Mackenzie, it wasn't the highest scoring final we've ever seen, but China looked really strong and a bit of bravado, which we don't often see from the Chinese athletes.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a younger crowd for this final, and that's why we saw a little bit more excitement, a little bit more cheering and bravado, as you say. But we had some really good scores in the bronze medal match. Gold medal match was a little bit lower score, but honestly, it just matters if you're 1 point higher.
Well, there we go, and that does conclude this session. I think I might be going for a dip with those people to cool off, but we got the women's team bronze going to Russia and Chinese Taipei taking the gold, and we've just seen the young Chinese team take the men's gold. So, as we look across the lovely bay here, we take a look back at the women's team rankings. Chinese Taipei up at the top. From Mexico and Russia, Spain having to settle for fourth place here. And it's a beautiful location here in Antalya. Previously, we've actually been on the beach for the archery, but this time we're just a little bit away from the beach on a flat, grassy surface. Here's how the men finished up here on the coast. China the young team taking gold from Italy in a interesting final full of lots of emotion. The USA beating Ukraine fairly comfortably after a slow start in the bronze medal match. So we've done the men's and women's team. Mackenzie, enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying watching some archery today. It's actually really nice weather here in this little grassy knoll almost. We've got a little bit of wind, a little bit of breeze, keeping us cool out here in the hot summer sun.
I mean, it's pretty hot for us in the commentary position. I can't imagine what it's like for the athletes on that blue sparkling carpet, which really retains the heat.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty warm out there. But I think everybody handled the conditions pretty well. It is a little bit breezier today than it was yesterday on Compound Saturday.
Well, you can see the flags on either side of the range there fluttering.
Yep, and in this view, you've got the Turkish flag up top, which is really picturesque and cool to see, but a little bit breezier day here on the beach.
Yeah, well, there we go. The men's and women's team events are concluded. There are those flags that Mackenzie was talking about. That's it from this session, but coming up at 2 p.m. local time, we'll move on to the all-new mixed team events and then the all-important individual finals. So that's the men's and women's teams medals sorted, but there's much more to come. Thanks for joining you, and we'll see you later for the individual matches here in Antalya.